Welcome to MetaverseInFiction. This is Pizza All the Way Down. Brought to you by Pass the Pen, a PageDAO production. Written by Ezra, Levinger, T. Dylan Daniel, James Riordan-Waters, and the Pass the Pen audience, with support from PageDAO and Rare Pizzas. Part 1. Dread Pizza Roberts. Angie, the owner of the farm, called the store to tell me that the ingredients were on the way. Our ingredients were sourced from all the finest places, grown organically in permaculture techniques by farmers who cared a great deal for the way they tasted. From the grains that went into the dough to the plants that went into the sauce, every ingredient was meticulously crafted at minimal cost to Mother Earth. I adored her, and my happiness to hear that the shipment was on its way buoyed my mood even as a stranger entered the store and rang the bell. I walked to the front of the store, smiling, and greeted the young man. "Hello, sir. How can I help you?" I asked. The young man was wearing a dark jacket and seemed a bit grumpy. Seeing my smile seemed to bring him a new emotion, however. "What's the best pizza you have here?" the young man asked. He seemed hungry. "Well, that all depends on what your preference is. We can make pizza to suit almost anyone," I calmly replied. At a new pizza shop, I always choose the margherita or the pepperoni. They're both classics. My smile widened. "I have just the thing for you then. I've just completed a new recipe for a margherita pizza, topped with pepperoni too." The young man's jaw dropped. "My God, really? That sounds amazing!" he exclaimed. "Indeed, young man. Shall I make you a large?" I replied. "Yeah, that sounds amazing!" he repeated. "Let me get a name for the order," I suggested. "Yeah, I'm Lorenzo. Nice to meet you," he said. "Lorenzo, the pleasure is all mine. They call me Dread Pizza Roberts," I said. He shook my hand and gave me his debit card. I took his payment and went to the back to make the pizza, leaving him to sit at a table. The evening was slow, so he was about the only one in the store. Just then, the bell rang. Mario Pancetti, our fastest driver, was back from his delivery. Part 2. Mario Pancetti. The Thanksgiving holiday was usually pretty slow for pizza, so it wasn't really unusual to enter the store and be alone with Roberts. Unexpectedly, a customer had wandered in and was eating the new margaroni pie I'd made up a few days ago. I filled my cup with water and settled in to wait for the phone to ring again. "Hey, do you want a slice?" he asked me. I was oblivious, staring at my phone. "Hey, this pizza's really good, but I can't eat it all by myself, man," he continued. I turned and faced him, got up, walked over, and took a seat across the table from him. "Hey, thank you," I said, helping myself to a slice. "Did you know I came up with this combination?" "Wait, really? You invented margaroni?" He seemed shocked. "Yeah, man. I like jalapeno too, which is just Hawaiian pizza with jalapenos added on." "Cool. Hey, what's your name?" "I'm Mario," I replied. "I'm Lorenzo," he said, extending his hand. I took it, shook it, and looked deep into his eyes. Lorenzo, I asked, how much do you love pizza? Mario, I barely know you, but I feel a spiritual kinship with you already. This margaroni pizza is absolutely heavenly. I'm new in town and don't have many friends yet. Maybe you could use another delivery driver. You know, on busier days. He looked away. I could put in a good word with Dread Pizza Roberts, I replied. I'd love that. I need work. I got up and walked to the back, invited Roberts to come speak with us. This is excellent pizza, Lorenzo said as we returned. He stood and shook hands with Dread Pizza Roberts, clearly nervous. Dread Pizza Roberts was a tall man, with a fullness to him that seemed to carry beyond his mere physical stature. He was clean-shaven, even his head. His apron was spotless, and the chef's hat he wore was immaculate. His confidence was exceeded only by the earnest character that seemed to exude from his every pore. I couldn't help but gravitate towards him. We'd worked together for a number of years at this point, and I was happy enough that I had never thought about going anywhere else. How do you make it so good? The young man asked. Well, replied Dread Pizza Roberts, I make them with love. I love the ingredients, I love the process of making them, and I love eating them. The whole process is about finding what you love and doing it as much as you can. Mario here gives me ideas, names, concepts. I'm just the means by which they come to exist. Lorenzo smiled. He was clearly a lover of pizza. His belly full, he was in a good mood. We have a whole pizza spirituality theme going now. There are gods and goddesses of the various toppings we pray to, I said, making air quotes with my hands around the word pray. He laughed a bit at this. Dread Pizza Roberts shot me a glance. I nodded to him, signifying my approval for this newbie. He seemed all right. Lorenzo, Dread Pizza Roberts started, would you like to come in for an interview tomorrow? We can do all the paperwork and everything. Get you started up delivering this I'd love that! Lorenzo seemed very excited. He got up and shook my hand, then shook Robert's hand, then made his way to the door as if he wanted to escape before he said something wrong, and ruined his chances here. Just as Lorenzo put his hand on the door to push it open, however, Angie swung it wide. Lorenzo stepped aside to allow her entrance, and she stepped through the door, followed by Farmer Troy, who oversaw the creation of the ingredients and ensured there was always enough tomato paste to go around. With his vertically integrated greenhouse operation a few blocks away. We have almost everything, she started. What do we lack? Asked Roberts. Only the basil for the sauce. Because of a whitefly infestation, we should have it by Monday. I trust you have enough to last the weekend? Angie had a radiant beauty that shined when she spoke, her pretty voice decorating the very air which allowed sound waves to pass from her mouth to Lorenzo's ear. He stood near the door, listening. I didn't really understand the fuss about her, but it was clear that Lorenzo was entirely captivated. I chuckled under my breath. We have the big ritual coming up, and I'd prefer the ingredients to be as fresh as possible. But I suppose we'll live. If we have to get the basil from the supermarket, intoned Roberts, clearly anxious about the seasonings that would be available to him. The ritual was a party some friends of ours had ordered a lot of pizza for. I sat in the booth at the back of the store, staring at my phone. I scrolled through Scent, my favorite social media network, time after time, simply waiting for the next delivery to be ready to go. "Order up!" cried Roberts, and I leapt into action, boxing the freshly cooked pizza and sprinting to my modified WRX rally car to make another sub-5-minute delivery. Part 3. Lorenzo. Satiated from the best pizza ever, Lorenzo fell into an unusually deep dream state that night. He was surprised, upon awakening in the spiritual pizza plane. The talk of gods and goddesses of pizza, combined with the spiritual drive to earn some money, to pay the new rent, all of it stewed inside of the fertile young mind of Lorenzo, contributing to the vivid images which permeated his every sleeping thought. His eyes opened to a flutter of Parmesan snowflakes. His nostrils filled with the scent of the oregano ground cover on the shores of the Great Sauce Lake. In the distance, the crustal mountains were flowing with cheese lava. From the lake came 3 ancient anchovy spirit guides. These small, winged beings flutter a bit through the air, sprinkling magic pixie dust in their wake. Together, they coalesce around Lorenzo, taking him by the hand and flying him to the crustal caves in the distance. Lorenzo imagines that these caves, millions of years before, must have been formed by the rising of the crust as the pizza Earth's tectonic plates had jammed together to form the mountain range that towered above them now. But perhaps it was all a result of some sort of baking, he considered. The anchovy guides took Lorenzo by the hand and walked him into a cave where, though he saw no equipment, an image was projected onto the wall. Dark at first, full of nothing, it quickly gave way to a spinning pizza, a margaroni pie to be exact, and the dough in the middle rose in both directions as the spinning continued. Pizza sprites and ancient winged anchovies swirled around the spinning za, adding sauce and toppings as the dough rose and rose. Finally, a gigantic spinning blue orb had arisen from the spinning flat crust, the very earth itself. Floating into the image, Lorenzo used his hands. He gestured right and left, zooming in and out on the bizarre projection. He learned quickly, his hands paring away layers, and his mind analyzing the events he was interpreting. Each layer of reality was a pizza, he discovered. The bright lights and anchovy sprites had disoriented him at first, detracted from his pizza understanding. Suddenly, even larger than the pizza Earth he beheld, Angie was standing in front of him. The pizza goddess was so large that the projected Earth itself was a marble next to her foot. Lorenzo swelled, growing to the same size Angie was, filling the crustal cavern. Molten mozzarella pooled around their feet, and the level began to rise as they embraced, kissing each other. The world is pizza, Lorenzo realized somehow, and then he awoke. As his mind cleared and the images of his overactive imagination faded into the sober awareness that a new dawn had broken. One thought, jarring, struck out to him through the dim recollections of bizarreness and his crush on Angie. It's just all pizza. Pizza all the way down. Always has been.